the next season. Speaking of Denver, though, we will go on to them. Beat the Bills in overtime, 33-30. Obviously had that first round bye, and the rest for that week because they got the first spot. Haven't played since week 18. They beat Chargers 19-3 before they beat the Bills. First time. I mean, what this is, in fact, my notes are all from the divisional, so I don't actually know all the first times of when this is them being back and stuff like that. But I assume it's probably first time in the Super Bowl since Peyton Manning.
It's got to be the Panthers one when they played us in the title game, the last Manning Brady game.
It must be. But the big thing that obviously came out, Adam, of the Bills game is Bo Nix is injured. He's broken his ankle, out for the playoff game, and if they got to the Super Bowl, would be out for that as well. I can imagine with recovery time of that, he'd be good for week 1 going into next season. That's I would say very, very probable. Huge blow for a quarterback that admittedly has been a little bit up and down this season.
Yeah, I mean it's obviously a huge thing for them. Yeah, he'll be fine for next year. I mean it's not a broken ankle, is it? It's a broken bone in it, sort of. So it's kind of like it's almost like what's he done? He chipped a bone or something. Like it's kind of that sort of thing where he can't walk on it. Is the problem. So yeah, I mean obviously it's awful, isn't it, for them, because they've had him throughout the whole season. He has had games where he hasn't looked particularly great. I remember when they came over against the Jets in the middle of the season. It was a pretty dire game that was, and he didn't really look very good. But then he's also had games where he's completely taken control of it, and he's kind of got this ability in the fourth quarter to come through clutch all the time. You know, he's always been able to do that. And obviously it's a massive loss. They've got Jarrett Stidham now as their starting quarterback for this game, who hasn't thrown a pass all season.
Hasn't thrown a pass for 2 seasons.
Right. So even better.
Hasn't thrown a pass since 2023.
Okay. That's one way of looking at it. So it's very, very difficult to kind of fall down on the side of the Broncos, because you just feel like how are they going to put up enough points in order to be able to beat this Patriots team, which, although as we've all said, hasn't really been tested on both sides of the ball in one game. It's still, you've seen flashes from both sides of the ball that the Patriots are decent on both sides. So I don't see how it works. Obviously, the Broncos defense is still going to be good. But yeah, everyone says it's a great defense, but it did concede 30 points last week. You know, I know it's Josh Allen, but you're still conceding 30 points in a playoff game. So it's not exactly shutting anyone down. You know, there was a few games at the back end of the season where it was the same. So you're kind of relying on the defense. You're relying on Sean Payton's play calling and game plan in order to be able to get anywhere. Now, you know, historically, I think, wasn't there? I read something that there was a season when Drew Brees went out injured and Teddy Bridgewater came in, and they managed to sort of get a win in the playoffs, and it was the first time that he had done anything as well. It's not a complete, like, no-hoper for the Broncos, but it's going to be very, very tough for them to be able to get anywhere, and losing Bo Nix is huge.
Well, adversity molds you. You know, it molds a team, It molds a person, and this is the highest amount of adversity for a team like the Denver Broncos going into this AFC Championship game, feeling good, healthy as well. Really going into that Bills game, coming out the other side of it with the worst injury of every injury is terrible, of course, but the quarterback position is where you absolutely don't want to get injured in. And now, Sky, with Denver going into this championship game, they know they're going to be adversity's started already. How do they overcome that? Is it going to be a defensive? It's got to be a defensive masterclass. It's got to be. They've got to get a few turnovers. They've got to maybe get a couple of points as well. Are we downplaying that Jarrett Stidham could play very well in this game? I mean, I like I said, not throwing a professional pass in 2 seasons. And then you have got the X factor of Sean Payton, who has been there and done that a lot. And he's battled for a lot of stuff as well. He's not always come out on the side of it winning, admittedly, famously the Minnesota New Orleans Saints game. But is it too late to push all the chips in for like Denver's going to lose this because they haven't got Bo Nix?
I think you've seen my notes, because one thing I would say about Bo Nix is that I think I've been one of the few people who've actually spoke highly of him throughout the season. And it is interesting now he's injured that suddenly the narrative has shifted in a way of, oh my God, they don't have Bo Nix. Because a lot of people have been quite vocal about Denver played nobody as well. They've not been fantastic. I still think this defense is great. And, they led the regular season in sack percentage. And when you've seen the fumbles that Mays had, that's clearly where the game plan would be. They need to get the run game going to take the pressure off of Stidham. I know that's stating the obvious, but Pat's defense has been very good against the run this season. So I think that's also the second key thing for them. But I don't think Stidham should be ruled out. He's probably one of the few quarterbacks going into this game. Like, I remember when we drafted him, coming out of Auburn, Cam Newton was there. Josh McDaniels has always spoke highly of him. He signed him in Vegas. Sean Payton spoke about, the amount of reports that he's had on him from his time in New England. And also, looking at him as a backup. Mike Vrabel said that they spoke to him about bringing him in. These are all things that sometimes I think there are a bit of smoke and mirrors and things said for the sake of it. But when I've seen him in, preseason games or whatever, I don't think necessarily that he is a awful backup compared to who else could be in this situation. And when you're playing on a team where you've got an elite defense, he just needs to, not let the moment get to him and potentially, I mean, I hate to say it because it happened to us last time when Brock Osweiler beat us in that season when then Peyton Manning took over, but it's also happened with Nick Foles. I mean, it actually, weirdly, in a way, couldn't be a worse backup because although he would have had notes on us anyway, he's playing against a team where he'll have insight on McDaniels to potentially share with the Broncos defense, but probably have more of a say now in the locker room because he's the guy. So, yeah, I mean, I would still 70% lean towards the Patriots, but I think that's more me as a fan. I think most 60-40 is probably fair as well, just because, again, of the stadium they're playing in. We don't have I don't like to talk about history of stadiums because it happened with that Miami game in week 2 where I was confident we'd beat them because we all said they were awful, and we did. But historically, the Pats don't have a great record at Mile High either. And the altitude, like we're only flying in on Saturday. I think that's part of it as well. Maybe you just want to be in your own bubble because it is intense to go there and be around in Colorado.
So who's going to win this, Adam? Who's going to win this game?
I think the Patriots win it. I think that they will just have too much for them in general. I don't feel like Stidham is going to be able to do enough in order to be able to beat them. I think he'll, as Sky said, I think he'll do a little bit better. I think he's going to be very motivated against his old team. So I think there's going to be a bit of that in it as well. But I just think it's going to be a little bit too much for him, and the unbelievable schedule run will continue for this Patriots team.
Just one more week, though. Just for one more week.
Thank God, eh? Thank God the Rams beat the Bears. That's all I'd say.
Sky, obviously you're going to say the Patriots are going to win this, but you think it's going to be a lot closer than people expect? Are you thinking blowout? Like, what are you thinking here?
I mean, we're 5.5 points favourites. I've seen. I would lean more towards 4. I think I probably see maybe like a 28-24 or type of game. I mean, a lot of people, unless you're a Patriots fan, have not really spoke about Zach Cord, taking over from Terrell Williams on the defensive calling side because of the health issues he's had. And I think he's really come into that role, ever since coming out of the bye. Called up some good stuff in like the Baltimore game and in the playoffs. And I think if our defense could just play to the capability that is shown, like Adam highlighted, a level that probably a lot of people haven't seen in the last 2 weeks, again, that takes pressure off Drake May to, maybe have to do some superhero stuff, because I am still worried about the Broncos defense. But yeah, I do think it'll be closer than people realize. I don't think you get to this point, regardless of schedules and, superstars in your team or whatnot. You've got to be a good team to make a championship game. So as much as the quarterback is the most important position, I do think we'll only beat Denver by 1 score.
Yeah, I'm going to pretty much echo what both of you say. Is I actually don't think it'll be that high scoring either. I think we could be getting a 21-16 game. I think it could be quite low scoring. I mean, only one game in this playoff run has been like that. You can say Texans Steelers was a blowout. It was the last 2 minutes they got all them points. It wasn't a blowout really. The only blowout's been the Seattle San Francisco game. That's the only one. Most games have been pretty close. I know you guys beat the Chargers 16-3, but I wouldn't. 16 points isn't a blowout, but you got to go over 20. You got to go over 20 points for a blowout, don't you? You know, you can't really say under.
It's not even 2 scores. You're right. It's just the Chargers couldn't do anything. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Stim's going to probably make some good plays. I think their defense is going to be really amped for it. And I think everyone might know Stidham, but there's no tape on him. You know, it's not like we've seen loads of it. I know they all know him, but it's not like we've seen him this season, and he could have changed he's changed his whole style, but since his time in New England, he's a very different player. Players develop, players change, players get influenced by other things. He's been surrounded by Sean Payton and that coaching staff and Bo Nix. Like, I'm sure he has learned, listened, and adjusted himself. So I don't think he's going to be terrible by no means. I just don't see him winning. I think it's got to be special. These games, it's special quarterback and special quarterback, and Drake May is ultimately the better quarterback, obviously, out of the both of them.
Surely we all want the Patriots to win it, though, anyway, don't we?
That's a good question.
So that we actually have not because I have anything against the Broncos specifically, but just, you know, your argument about the tape is true. Well, then we're going into a Super Bowl where there will be tape. And it's like the Super Bowl could be a blowout and it's all over before half time if you end up going the other way. So I feel like you want the Patriots in there with one of the NFC West teams, surely.
Yeah, Adam's right. So you wouldn't want. I don't think you'd want the Seahawks or Rams with 2 weeks to prepare for a Jared Stidham led offense.
Yeah.
What is it? You think it would just be like a dull game?
I think it'll be
over quickly.
Yeah. You want ultimately the Super Bowl to be competitive, don't you? And actually, the Super Bowl is going to be more competitive with New England Patriots in it, really.
Nice to know we've got 3 Pats fans for Sunday then. Welcome, guys.